Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Nacon Rig 600 Pro HX, a fully destructible headset, which as you can see looks a bit bonkers, and the fact that you can do that is mad. But more on that in a minute, because it looks like a cheap headset, but actually isn't. It's actually a very nice one to use, and has some really interesting highlights to it, not just the fact that you can take it apart in various ways, or that it has a quirky ear cup design I'll get to in a minute. Now this is a headset that's multi-device capable. As you can see, this one is branded for Xbox compatibility, but I've been using it on PC. It does work with Android, Nintendo Switch and iPhone as well, apparently. And it is quite curious because as you'll see when you get it out of the box, it comes with the ear cups essentially hanging off the headband at the top. The headband pops together in this way, so the ear cups just push into the band itself, and then you have a pretty flexible headset. Now this results in an interesting device that's lightweight, but also obviously able to be deconstructed if you need to, so you could replace the headband in future if you need to, but also it's meant to be durable so that this headband is going to last. You've got some soft padding on top and on the ear cups themselves, and then a headband which is adjusted not in the usual manner where it basically extends out, but instead you place your ear cups where you're going to need them, whether you have a small, medium or large head, so you can just adjust them into that position and then seat it on your head. This is a wireless headset which offers both 2.4 GHz wireless connectivity and Bluetooth 5.1 with multiple controls on the headset itself, including the power button, volume control, multi-function button, and another button which switches between modes, so wireless, dual connectivity and Bluetooth connectivity. As you've seen already, you can take most of it apart. You can pull off the ear cushions as well, and then you've got a device that's pretty much deconstructed. Now this is nice because it means if you're a bit clumsy and you're worried that you're going to pull things off of your headset, then don't worry, because that's basically designed to enable that. Now the ear cups are pretty soft and reasonably well padded. As you see, the ear cushions aren't massively deep, but I do find them comfortable enough that I don't have any pressure on my ears, and the padding's really nice. It's also a nice lightweight headset, so it sits on the head nicely and you can wear it for a long time without feeling the pressure. Obviously this material isn't as good at passive noise cancellation as faux leather, but it still has that benefit of not being too hot either, and allows you to hear yourself when you're talking, which is beneficial because as standard the headset doesn't have side tone on the microphone, so you can't hear yourself through the mic without some adjustment in the app, and I'll get to the app in a little while, and I'll link to it in the description so you can download it if you want to. So you can see, obviously you can take the ear cushions off and you could swap them out potentially. They just are held on with a lip around the outside of the driver. Underneath there's 40mm drivers, which are pretty capable, and we'll get to sound later on, as well as a mic test at the end of the video. Now you can see that despite that initial shot I showed you of basically breaking the headset, it is actually pretty stretchy and twistable and turnable. It is quite well designed in its setup, so don't worry about the ear cups popping off constantly, because I have certainly found that during everyday use, taking it off, putting it back on again, dropping it on the desk, whatever else, it isn't a problem. You can see there is some movement in the ear cups too, so it is pretty easy to adjust on your head and get into a comfortable position, although side-to-side movement is lacking and clamping force won't be for everybody. There is a 2.4 GHz dongle included in the box, which is USB-C. Now you'll notice on that there's a button to switch between essentially console mode and USB mode. So in my case, I'm flicking it over to USB and then using it on PC. And obviously you're going to need a USB-C port in order to use this, although in a second you'll see that there is an adapter included in the box as well, so not to worry if you don't have one. There is one minor gripe about this dongle, is that it's L-shaped, which means it blocks other ports potentially. As you can see on my Surface Book, for example, that plugging it in one way blocks the USB-A port, and if you flip it over and plug it in the other way, you're going to block your 3.5mm. Now this is a pretty niche problem, but you may have the same issue on your PC or other device. You can see a few different examples here of the dongle getting in the way of various ports. So that's something to think about. I also found the wireless range of the dongle is lacking a little bit. If I wander out of the room, it cuts out quite quickly, but it does reconnect pretty quickly, so that's not necessarily a problem. There is an adapter included in the box if you don't have a USB-C connection that will convert it into a USB-A, so this negates the problem I was showing earlier potentially, or helps if you don't have a USB-C connection at all. So That's one benefit. It's kind of short, so it won't extend the range very much. And the other thing that's pretty short is the USB-C charging cable that's included, which is pretty mediocre in terms of length. Now, this headset claims around 18 hours of battery life over 2.4 gigahertz, and I actually found that it lasted longer than that, or at least it felt like it did. I didn't feel like I was plugging it in very often, and that's definitely a benefit. When you turn it on, you get an audible cue to tell you whether you've got a lot of battery life left or not very much, so you get a hint of when it's going to need charging, and it will also tell you that repeatedly when it is getting low, so it's pretty easy to not run out of battery on this, so that's good. But if you do need to plug it in to charge, then obviously that short cable is going to be ideal. There's a retractable mic built into the headset, which I'll do a sound test on at the end of the video, so stick around for that. Now, a curiosity of the dongle is that it will work on your phone. So it's obviously intended for a multitude of devices, but it will work on an Android phone. So you can plug it in there and then use that and adjust the volume from the headset itself. Now, I said that this is a dual connectivity headset in that the claim is that it will connect to both Bluetooth on your phone and your PC at the same time. You can indeed do this, although unfortunately it seems that the Bluetooth connection is for using the app and for essentially just placing calls or taking calls. You can't mix in Spotify audio from your phone, for example, with gameplay audio from your PC at the same time. So although it's in dual mode, it doesn't actually work that way, which is pretty sad. Now, there are a variety of different controls available on the various buttons, which I'll show you in a minute because they're highlighted in the app. But the power button at the bottom, then you've got a multifunction button and then a Bluetooth button at the top, which switches between modes. But if you press and hold it, it will automatically put it into pairing mode. You can see that there's then a blue indicator light that flashes just above the power button down the bottom. And then you can essentially just connect it to a device like your phone, for example. So most of these buttons have multi-actions on them. So press and hold it for a bit longer or double tap it and it'll do various different things. And this is highlighted within the app, which is downloadable on your phone, and I'll show you that in a second. But you can see it's fairly easy to pair with your phone. And then obviously, if you've put the headset into Bluetooth mode, you can then listen to music that way. But as I've said, if it's in dual connectivity mode, you can potentially make a call or receive a call. And the buttons on the headset actually allow you to accept a call from the headset without touching your phone, and media playback controls, so you can see that you can pause and play music using that, for example, as well. So there's quite a lot of functionalities and features that aren't immediately obvious in this headset, and for the money it's pretty good, but unfortunately lacking that dual connectivity is a shame, or at least in the traditional sense, because something like the SteelSeries headsets that you can get at the moment, the Nova 7s for example, do offer dual connectivity where you can have both audio from your PC and from your phone at the same time. So it's a shame that this headset doesn't offer the same. Now, in terms of sound, I actually found this headset to be really surprisingly good for the money. It delivers a good range of audio, good positional audio, and a good soundscape. It's got a decent bass to it, goes pretty loud, and the audio range is nice there. You can also see that in the app you can change between various different sound profiles, so there's some customized for FPS games, for example, and bass boost, vocal clarity, and more, as well as a custom EQ profile that you can adjust yourself. Now, the standard profile out of the box is pretty nice, but if you download the app you can play around with some of those settings and customize the sound depending on what you're doing. But I found it was good enough for music, movies and games, and really decent across the board with a variety of different styles as well. So I've really enjoyed what it's delivered in the audio department. The other thing is on the head, as you can see, it's got a decent clamping force to it. It sits nicely on the head and it's sort of a good balance. It's not too floaty, so it's not going to fly off. And also the clamping force isn't so tight it's going to hurt your head, I don't think. At least it didn't for me personally. So there's a good fit there. Now with the app, I want to show you a few different things. If you download this app, you can access various different profiles. And that includes turning on mic monitoring and increasing the gain on it. So you want to do that. You can see that if you go into the equalizer, you can choose the various different sound settings in there. And you can turn on expert mode and tweak various different things, obviously selecting the ones that work for you. Now, I will say that you do have to have this connected to your phone, obviously, so it needs to be in dual mode or in Bluetooth mode for it to work. I found the best way was to get it into dual mode, play around with the settings, and then that would apply when you're in USB as well. So you're using it on your PC, but you're changing the audio on your phone. Bit weird and contrived, but it does work. So something to bear in mind. And then you can choose what mode the headset starts in. So there's a lot of little details in here. For example, you can set it to automatically be in Bluetooth mode when you turn it on, or to automatically be in wireless mode. You'll see another section in here, breakdown of what's available in terms of the different button presses, the different actions that you can get. And the actions from those various buttons also change depending on what mode you're in. So if you're in Bluetooth mode, for example, that multifunction button will act as a playback button. The volume wheel's pretty standard, and the power button actually has extra actions. So a single press on the power button, for example, while turned on, will let you know how much battery life you've got left. So you can do that, and you can also turn it on and off as well, of course. But it's interesting to be able to get that information on the fly. So if you're not too sure how much battery life you've got left, you can press it and it'll tell you. And then you can see the button at the top, which switches between modes, will also have some other actions if you double press it or long press it. So there's various different controls that are accessible from the headset. It's really nice to have those as standard. So as you see, a pretty nice headset. It actually surprised me in a number of ways. When I first got it out of the box, it felt kind of cheap and mediocre, not very exciting, a bit quirky, with obviously the headset looking like it was broken when it came out of the box. But after a couple of weeks of using it, I've actually found that I quite like this headset for what it is. It does lack in the dual connectivity, and as you'll hear in a minute, the microphone isn't amazing, which is the main reason I've not been using it so far, because usually I do my voiceovers with the microphone. But I'll show you that in a second for the sound test. But in terms of comfort, the ability to wear it for ages, also just the quirkiness of the design, I think the fact that it's not so rigid that if the headset breaks off, like the ear cups break off as a common problem with a lot of headsets over time, just the ear cups just break off, that shouldn't be an issue here. So that's going to be great in there. Whether the cabling across the top is going to hold up remains to be seen, but otherwise pretty nice. You can see just the fit here with a close-up look at that. Those ear cups, as I said, not particularly deep, but the cushioning on them is pretty satisfying, and all told, it's just been a pretty good experience from a comfort point of view. It's really lightweight because of that overall design of it, and it looks pretty nice on the head as well, so it's not too offensive. I think you get away with wearing these as Bluetooth headphones outside the house if you wanted to with relative ease. And this is what the microphone sounds like on the Rig 600 Pro HX, and as you can hear, it's not fantastic quality. It's very compressed. Now you can adjust the mic monitoring in the app, so you can turn the mic monitoring on. And I have it set to high at the moment so I can hear myself better. I would not recommend doing that, because then you notice even more how compressed you are, but also you can hear a lot of a hiss. So there's a lot of white noise when it's on high, so I'd actually suggest turning it down. I have increased the gain to high though, because it's quite quiet as standard is what I'm finding. At least on PC, the microphone doesn't capture the audio very well. It's quite quiet. And obviously your disadvantage here is because of the mic positioning, you can't adjust it, so you can't get it closer to your mouth, which is obviously a downside as well. So the mic is kind of a big letdown in what is otherwise a fairly decent headset. It's not absolutely terrible, but it's certainly not amazing. However, the benefit is you can obviously fold it away, tuck it out of sight, and then use a dedicated microphone instead in place of that, whether it's USB or XLR. So that is one thing. And if you're not bothered about using a mic because you don't talk to anybody when playing games, then it's not a problem at all. But don't expect much from this microphone. I wasn't expecting much. You see the size of it. It's not even anywhere near my mouth. So that's one indicator. And then obviously not being able to move it around is another hint of just not very good, really. But so no mic monitoring is standard. And if you turn it up too much, you just hear a hiss, which is a big downside for me as well. But otherwise, a fairly decent headset.
You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos. You might well find them interesting or useful. And most importantly, have a great life.